Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to PhotoBiz Live. This is Danny from the PhotoBiz team, and today we're going to be joined by Hiram Trillo, and he's going to be teaching you guys a webinar about destination weddings. Hiram, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How's everybody doing?
Awesome. Glad you could join us today, and I'm glad everybody could finally take some time out of their day and join us to learn about this topic. I know you're going to be teaching everybody a lot of different things, and we'll go over that here in just a moment. So I just want to go over some quick housekeeping notes with everybody so they can kind of get used to our system if they've never joined a webinar with us. In today's webinar, if you have any questions, we're going to have a live Q&A after the presentation from Hiram. So you can submit your questions using the chat tool. If you have any audio or visual concerns, if you can't hear either one of us, just go ahead and send us a message through the chat, or if you're having any kind of visual lag or delay there, just go ahead and message me, PhotoBiz Web Solutions, the organizer inside of the chat window. And also, we'd love to see you guys join in this discussion on Twitter. So use the hashtag PhotoBizLive, and that'll start the conversation. So I'll be tweeting different facts and tips that Hiram's going to be talking about today on Twitter. So definitely retweet me if you're out there on Twitter and give us a shout out. And you can also follow Hiram, and his Twitter name is @Hiram Trillo. So also, we are going to be placing this webinar on YouTube, so you will be able to find it on our YouTube channel by visiting youtube.com/photobiz. So after the webinar is over, we'll place that video online, so be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube while you're there so you can watch any future webinars that we host. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Hiram. And Hiram, I'm going to let you give yourself a quick intro and talk about the, just the different things you're going to be chatting about today. So let's go ahead and make you the presenter.
All right. Well, hello everybody. Thank you again for joining me. I know it's we're all very busy, and you guys sitting here and sharing with us, it's absolutely awesome. So I do appreciate that. A little bit about myself. I'm a photographer, and I'm based out of Dallas, Texas, and then 90% of what I do is actually destination weddings. Today, it's going to be a very quick intro on basically little tips, tricks that I've learned over the years that have worked for me. And later on, we're actually going to do a much more in-depth webinar on destination weddings. But this is definitely the information that basic information that you will need to get started in doing these. So with that said, we're gonna go a little bit. We're gonna go through a straight out of camera wedding that I did recently, and kind of how I split the day on stuff like that for a destination wedding. So first of all, what is a day? I want to make sure that everybody can see the screen and can hear me correctly. So if everybody's good, if not, please, if you're having any problems, make sure you let us know.
Yeah, just drop us a note here in the chat if you guys can hear Hiram okay and see the screen okay.
Okay.
All right, Hiram. Yeah, if you want to try and speak up just a little bit before we get into it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if if you guys start having some problems, please make sure you let me know. Anyways, what is a destination wedding? Well, as we all know, anything that's outside. To me, the way I define it, it's anything that's going to be that I have to travel to more than an hour. To me, it's a destination wedding. My very first destination wedding was actually an hour away from where I was at, and I was extremely happy. It was my first destination wedding. I drove to more than an hour. It's about an hour and a half from here, and it was I was ecstatic. I was like, oh my God, my first destination wedding. Little did I know that within 6 months of that I would actually be taking a plane somewhere. So it was it was definitely a learning curve to try to get all this stuff because I have to learn how to travel a lot lighter. There's a lot of things that went wrong in the first ones, but it's just something that I had to learn, and that's why I'm doing this webinar, that hopefully I can help you guys a little bit, and you don't have to hit yourself against the wall as many times as I did. Throughout this thing, at the very end, we're going to have some Q&As. Please don't hesitate to ask whatever you guys want to know, and we'll get those questions answered as best as I can. So a destination wedding, anything that's outside from where you live. If you have to stay overnight, it's definitely a destination wedding. So we're going to continue on here. Things that I look for on a destination wedding, I always look ahead of time, look for the weather. Once I get there, I look what the light's kind of going to be like. It's the destination. It's going to be at the beach. It's going to be in the mountains. And obviously, like everything else, location, location, location. I need to make sure that I am prepared. I asked a lot of questions to my clients. Where's the resort going to be at? Is it a resort? Is it going to be a family farm? Is it going to be a family beach house? What is it? If it's going to be in the U.S., obviously, if it's going to be in Mexico, South America, Europe, wherever it is, you need to know all this information, obviously, because you need to know how to prepare for it. And I'm gonna go through a little kind of prepared and little things that you need to know over the course of this. Now, things that you need before you go. Things that you're going to need, obviously, is going to be a passport. More than likely, anywhere that you travel, you're going to have a valid passport that has at least 6 months before it expires. So make sure that whenever you're going to go either get a visa or go, your passport is active. For the most part, I want to make sure on mine, I always make sure that I have at least a year. And then if I have less than a year, then I will go ahead and just renew my passports just to keep it, up to date. Visas. Now, you don't need a visa everywhere you go, but there are some countries that do require a visa, whether it's going to be a working visa, which more than likely you're not going to need unless you're going to be working there for longer than 60 days. That is a general rule, but there are some countries that do, even if you're going to be there for the weekend or whatever it is, as long as you have professional equipment, you will have to get your stuff, get a visa to be able to enter the country. One thing that I do suggest, please don't lie. Don't say, if you go in there, if you have professional equipment, act, be as such, do as such, and declare your equipment. You're there for a job. You do let them know that, if there is going to be money exchanged in the country, then, make sure you pay your taxes. Make sure you pay whatever is due in that country. But for most of us, the majority of the time, we don't have to do that, just because, well, all the money exchange more than likely took place in the U.S. But it's something that you need to do. So if you need to get a working visa, whatever it is, make sure that you get that done. Insurance. If you do not have insurance, and I'm not talking about health insurance, I'm talking about your equipment insurance. Make sure that you check, if you do have it, that it does cover outside of the U.S. A lot of insurance companies, especially a lot of photographers, one mistake that I've seen quite a bit done is that people have their equipment insured with their homeowner's insurance. Well, you want to make sure that your homeowner's insurance is going to cover it if something happens to it outside of your home. Also, a lot of these homeowners insurance will not cover you if you travel outside of the U.S. And, well, if anything happens outside of the U.S., you're taking a big risk by not having your equipment insured. So make sure that your insurance company, or the insurance that you do have, it's going to cover you and protect you. It's not only protection for you, but, for example, I added to my policy that in case anything happens, if my equipment is stolen, if my cards, something happens to the cards, you never know. They actually cover the refund that you're going to have to give your client. So it's very, it's very good for you to protect yourself in that sense. So insurance is a good one. A good travel case. There are a ton out there. On the last webinar, I kind of showed you what the equipment that I use was. So I'm not going to do it on this time. So that way, for time purposes. But I use a case that's called the Porter case. In there I carry, two bodies, 6 lenses, my laptop, and memory cards and transmitters. It all fits, and it's all a carry-on. It's a heavy carry-on, but it all fits on the overhead. I always keep my equipment with me. I never check my equipment in. That is one big thing that I do highly, highly, highly recommend, that you never check your equipment in. I don't know how many times I've seen colleagues that got their equipment misplaced because they checked their bags in. So make sure that you keep your equipment with you. Your clothing and all that stuff, wherever you're at, more than likely you'll be able to get even a pair of shorts somewhere. But if your equipment's gone, then we have a big, big, big problem. If you're going to be shooting close to the beach, one thing that I highly recommend is to make sure you have silica gel packets. Carry those, put those in your bags. It helps a lot with the moisture. It helps a lot with condensation. So I buy the reusable ones, the refillable ones, and I always have that. I have that in my camera bag. I have that in my Porter case. I throw some, anywhere where there's going to be, where my equipment's going to be, I want to make sure that I have some silica gel packets in there. Extremely, extremely helpful. That was probably one of the best tips that I got from a destination photographer that he'd been doing it for a while. So I'm passing it on to you guys. So now, forms that you're more likely going to use, or forms that I use. One is a form that I currently still use, and form is called the CBP form 4457. I can definitely write that down at the end of it. But basically what this is a certificate of registration for your personal effects that you are taking outside of the U.S. So this is kind of what the form looks like. And you give your name, you put your address, you certify that you are the owner, and then you put a description of your articles. Basically, on the description of the articles, what I do, I type it all up on the computer, and then I staple this to the top of it. But I have the cameras that I'm taking, serial numbers, same thing for my lenses, any of the equipment, laptop, anything that I carry with me, I register it. Why do I do this? Well, I had one problem where I went outside the U.S. I actually went to Asia, and on the way back, I had to register my equipment. Well, then what happens, for example, if you go to Japan, where Canon has a big manufacturer, it's a big manufacturer there. Well, they might think that you bought your stuff there and you're bringing it back to the U.S. Well, if you do that, you have to pay taxes on it. So by registering your equipment, then you kind of protect yourself in situations like this. You kind of show the form to them. You see that that somebody stamped it, somebody initialed it, they gave the day that you turned it in, and now you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So this is one that I always carry with me. I can definitely send you the link so that you guys can download this form and carry it with you and have it with you at all times. So it's something really good that you can have with you to protect yourself in situations like that. So the other one, this one's the one for Mexico, but every country has one and they all look different. So I had this one handy, so I put this one. That's why I put this one up. But this one's a custom declarations form. Basically, what it is when you enter any country, whether it's going to be in Europe, Mexico, South America, Asia, wherever it is, they're going to give you a custom declarations form. Basically, that's what's telling you what your purpose in that country is going to be. Also, if you have professional equipment with you, if you do, obviously, if you go in there, make sure you declare it. Make sure that you say, yes, I'm here and I have professional equipment. It's a big toss-up. Make sure that you kind of go to the, for example, here in Dallas, we have pretty much every country's consulate, we have here. I think Oman and a couple other countries, Middle Eastern countries that we do not have here. But for the most part, I can find a rep or a consulate here in Dallas. And you can do that, close to a major city that you live by. More than likely, they're going to have someone. Just go in there, read what they require. If you would pay taxes even if you don't, you're not going to receive money there. I know there's a lot of countries in South America, for example, Argentina, where if you're a U.S. citizen, there's a fee that you charge, which is I believe right now it's $185 if you're an American. If you're from Mexico, then you don't pay anything. If you're from South America, you don't pay anything. And you're going to encounter this quite a bit by Americans. Americans, for some reason, have to pay fees in many countries to enter that country. But they also have the good thing about that is that a lot of the American passports, you don't need a visa, you just need your passport. So that's always a good thing. So let's keep going just a little bit. Now I'm going to show you guys my 2 little secret weapons that I recently started using. Well, I've been using them for about a year now. If you recall in the last webinar, basically what I had, I would carry tripods with me. Well, I always had to pay, overcharges because, well, they were heavy, or the bag was shaped awkwardly and they wouldn't fit in my suitcase, so I had an extra bag that I had to check in. So I actually started using these. Now, if you recognize them, these are Gorilla Pods. These are amazing because I can actually use these and get, on destination weddings, and I no longer take my light stands anymore. This is exactly what I take. I can easily wrap this around the DJ lights. I can wrap these around a palm tree. Anywhere you can put these up, and so they've been a big addition to my destination coverage now. And another one is this, and this a shameless plug, but we'll wait till the end on this. But it's a little reflector that I use quite a bit, so I don't have to take one of the big ones. And it's just something that I use. It's a 5-in-1 reflector that lets me control light in areas where I want the light to be. So now we're going to talk a little bit about giving yourself enough time. One big mistake that I did for a long time, and I still see a lot of people kind of doing, is the fact that they don't give themselves enough time. I always ask to be wherever it is that I need to be, at the resort or at the venue or wherever the hotel, wherever it's going to be. I ask to be there 36 hours before. Now, the reason for me doing this is for their own protection, because the way things are in many airports, you just never know. You miss a flight, and if you're running really close to schedule, then guess what? You're probably going to miss the wedding. So by asking to be there, 36 hours before, and I explained that to my clients why I do it, then I protect myself to make sure that I'm there, and I also protect them. I want to make sure that I'm there. So giving myself enough time to get there helps. Now, let's say I do get there 36 hours before, everything went off without a glitch, then now I have that time to actually walk around, see the area, and to look at my locations and get ideas of how and what I want to do the day of the wedding. So make sure that you give yourself enough time in those situations. So now, this is basically the little list of how I break down the wedding weekend. Most of them have what's called an icebreaker. It's a little bit different than your rehearsal dinner. An icebreaker, basically, a lot of the times you have a lot of family and friends, and some of the family that don't know a lot of the friends, or vice versa. So it's a dinner. It's more of a little party that they go. I personally think it's an excuse to go partying, which is great. Most of the time I'm invited, so it's fantastic. But they call it an icebreaker, and it's basically that. everybody gets together for dinner, and then after that they go out and they'll have a blast. They'll go and have a party. Most of the time they'll find a little lounge or a club or whatever it is, and they do that. Then the following day, they'll have their rehearsal and rehearsal dinner and stuff like that. So then I break it up. After the rehearsal, I always try to do a portrait session with them. It's kind of because a lot of the times, well, couples that go to destination weddings, well, they don't have a chance to do an engagement shoot or anything like that. So I want to make sure that I don't cut that out. I think it's a very important part, and also it kind of gives me a little bit more intimacy with them, so on the wedding day it's not so awkward. So I want to make sure I do a portrait session with them. Then you have your wedding day coverage, obviously, and then afterwards, there's always the day after or trash the dress sessions. Now, all of these, I only carry 2 packages, guys, when I do my destination weddings. I do wedding day coverage or I do weekend coverage, plain and simple. If they choose the weekend coverage, then all of this is included, obviously. If, let's say, they want wedding day coverage, then everything else becomes a la carte. And they can pick and choose what they want. If they want coverage on the icebreaker, if they want, coverage on the rehearsal, stuff like that, so they can actually add all of that stuff. But for the most part, people, they see that I'm going to be there already, so most of the time they'll take the leap and pay the extra just to get the weekend coverage. So this is the way I separate my wedding coverage for the weekend. Now we're going to go I'm going to show you what the icebreaker is, the party, and kind of how I develop it. This wedding right here is a mixture. I did actually some film. I shot film as well as digital. But I'm going to show you kind of how I cover it. It's the best parts. I think there's only like 300 images when, for the weekend I think I shot like 1,200 or something like that. But it's a little taste of what I do. I always try to cover my surroundings. I want to make sure that they see, on this time, I want to make sure that this kind of stood out to me quite a bit. There was these little peaks that were kind of peeking out on the top of the resort. So I just did that. Obviously, they want to know where the resort was and what it looked like, architecture and all that stuff. So I, take some detail shots around. And then I just kind of join them. This is when they were walking toward the thing. One thing that I always do is I'll always keep my camera glued to my face because you just never know what's going to happen. For example, situations like this, and there's going to be a couple others that you'll see where things just kind of happen. I love shots like this because it's kind of like the interaction of them with their surroundings. And for the most part, people that live there, you'll get shots like this of them looking at the couple or whatnot. So I always try to keep, my face glued to the camera for the weekend. Yeah, little things like this. I think little things like this are very sweet to the couple. Stuff that they might overlook and they might not see. On this one, she was carrying her shoes. She loves high heel shoes, but yet, we were walking through these cobblestone streets, and it was uphill, so she didn't want to carry them or she didn't want to wear them, so he just kind of took them from home and started walking. I showed them this picture, and they had completely forgotten about it, yet they love these pictures. It was just something that they just weren't paying attention to, but that's what they pay us for, to make sure that we capture the stuff that maybe they're not gonna remember. Once you get into the areas, you want to make sure you take pictures of the details. For the same reason, they might have overlooked, what was on the walls, the thing that was around them, because they're so excited. They're there with their family, they're there with their friends. So a lot of these things, kind of get overlooked by them. So you want to make sure that you show this stuff to them. Same thing, little details here and there, and I always try to show where everything happened. So obviously this was, one of the restaurant, what it was. So, it takes 2 seconds to walk outside and take a picture of the sign, so they know exactly where it was. Everybody knows where it was. And by even taking pictures like this, I've actually gotten some, I'll tag the restaurant and stuff like that when I do my blog posts and stuff like that, and I actually get hits from people that are looking, either they're getting married there or they're asking me for, so it always kind of works out. And then after that, we're going to go through some quick images of kind of what happened throughout the evening. This guy was actually kind of creepy. I'm kind of creeped out by clowns, so I kind of kept my distance on it, but, it wasn't my day. And everything that kind of happens, throughout the day. Then that obviously, they go from one place to the other. This is where the party kind of starts. I follow them just like anything else and just start capturing as things happen. Everybody having a great time. This guy was trying to take a picture of himself, but it's actually the camera, if you see, it's actually backwards, pointing towards him. So he got a nice surprise when the flash just popped in his face. So this is basically, your typical. Here's other people trying to take pictures backwards. So, you never know what they want, and I want to make sure that they remember all of their stuff. As you can see, they're having a great time, and Michael Jackson busts out, and so on. So that's that's kind of what an icebreaker is. Right now, actually, we can actually set up, take a few questions of what we have been up to, and then we'll keep going from there. So if you have any questions, ask away.
All right. Got a question here from Mark about the name of the tripod.
Okay, and the name of that one's a Gorilla Pod, but I think I wanna make sure. I think Coney makes them as well. There's a different company that makes them, but the originator was the Gorilla Pod. But there's less expensive options out there as well that will do the same thing.
Awesome. All right. Let's see. Next question comes in. How do you charge based on local wedding compared to a destination? So I guess just this question's more about how to factor in that additional cost.
Well, basically what it is, I factor in the fact that I'm going to be away, how long I'm going to be away from. If they do a weekend coverage, that's probably going to be, I'm going to be out 4 to 5 days. So that's factored in the fact that, how much a portrait session would cost me probably if on that day. The weekend, but I'm talking about, say, Thursday and Friday, if I did do a session. So you kind of factor that in, as well as I always, I don't make any money off of my plane tickets. That's at cost, whatever it costs, that's what's, passed on to them. The second thing is I always ask for rental car, if possible, because you can't really depend on on them remembering or having fun or drivers. And if I have a rental car, I can move wherever I want, whenever I want, and how quickly I want. So I always kind of ask for a rental car. It doesn't have to be if it's a motorbike, hopefully not. I haven't gotten a motorbike yet, but something where I can move myself. So that's factored in there. And also I ask for a per diem type thing, which in my case is just $50. The per diem thing is just so that I can do, maybe there's valet where I need to park, food, and stuff like that. So all of that stuff is kind of factored in, plus what the coverage of the weekend would be.
Great answer. Next question from Dorian. What's a good rule of thumb for booking your plane ticket in advance, I guess?
As soon as you book, as soon as they sign the contract. As soon as they sign that contract, you book that plane ticket. The longer you wait, the longer it's going to happen. This wedding actually was one of those cases. Um, they waited for a period of time they signed the contract, but you can sign a contract, but unless I receive the down payment, then your date's not secure. And it's specified in the contract when the first payment or the down payment is due when the contract's signed. If they wait a little bit longer, then so I'm not going to book my plane ticket until everything's carved in stone. In this case, there were some problems with the bank. It wasn't their fault, but unfortunately, I booked this. I think it was 3 weeks before the wedding that it was, and the price went from when they signed the contract, which was about 4 months before, which was the plane ticket, round plane ticket to Cabo was about $900. It went to $2,200 because I booked it 3 weeks before, and it was during their high season. So it does make a big difference, and I do always tell them, I was like, the sooner we get everything, the sooner I can book everything, and the cheaper it's going to be on that. But they understood, what the situation was, and if you're upfront with them, then it's great. One thing that I do suggest is, if you do fly quite a bit, if you do have miles and stuff like that, use your miles for upgrades. Don't use your miles to make money off the plane ticket. For example, if you can get a plane ticket to Cabo because you got hired there, and then you're going to charge them what it would be, it kind of just, it looks unprofessional. But let's say you buy a regular plane ticket, and with your miles you upgrade to first class. Hey man, treat yourself. That's awesome. But I wouldn't suggest using miles and then charging them for something else. I have had clients who are great, fly everywhere for the job or whatever, and they have a ton of miles, and they suggest, hey, can we fly you? And the ones that have done it, I'll let them do it, because most of them are very, very kind to be like, we'll put you in first class, because it's not going to cost them anything. You have so many miles. So it's great. But for the most part, I try to do all of my bookings myself.
Awesome. And we'll grab another question
Okay.
and let you get back on the road. And I do see your question here, Dorian. We'll get to that at the next break. We have a question that came in a little earlier from Rachel. Do you have the bride and groom book your room at the resort, or do you prefer to book it yourself?
I tried to do all of my bookings myself, because there's really no difference between them booking it or me booking it. As long as I say I'm with that wedding, I'm going to get that same rate. And I try to get everything done. The one thing that I do ask is that I'm always in the same place that they are. For example, because especially, I'm going to use, for example, Mexico. Mexico has large resorts, but the resorts themselves, for example, can be split into 3. They'll have a high-end one, they'll have a middle, and they have a low-end. Well, if you let them kind of do it themselves, they'll be like, well, we're in the same resort, but they'll put you in the low end. Now, it doesn't have anything to do with, well, I just want to be in the best. No. It's just that the resort, it's at the opposite end, so it's going to take me 30 minutes to get either a golf cart or walk or whatever to get to where I need to be. And anything can happen in that time. And I'll always, tell them why I need to you be close to wherever everything's going to happen as possible. And for the most part, they're very, they understand. There's a few that they'll be like, well, blah, blah, and I'll be like, that's fine. You know what? If you want to put me in the other one, I don't care. As long as I have a place to sleep, that's fine. But if anything happens, I'm not held liable for it. So you make sure that you're upfront with that stuff. So I try to do all of my booking rather than him do it, and that's something else that I'm taking away from them, another hassle that I'm taking away from them.
Awesome. Well, I'll go ahead and let you continue on, and we'll get to some more questions whenever we get to our next break.
Absolutely. Okay, well, portraits. The portrait session, we already did kind of the party, that's going to be the icebreaker. And like I said, and make sure you enjoy yourself too. Now, I'm not saying that you should go out and get drunk or drink with them. Once in a while, you know, the clients show up and they'll hand me a beer or whatever, and I will nurse that beer the entire night, um, and stuff like that. A lot of the time before they even give me a drink, I'll actually go to the bar and I'll ask for a Coke, or I'll ask for cranberry juice, or ask for something that looks like I'm drinking something. That way they don't think that, oh, I'm not drinking, I'm only working. But you want to make sure that you're part of the festivities and you're enjoying it with them. Because they're going to see you. They're going to see you as a friend. They want you to enjoy yourself as well. So, you know, but it's up to you, like I said, whatever you want to do. The following day, for the most part, I'll kind of do the portrait session. This was the icebreaker. Most of the time it's going to be there on Thursday night, which is when I get there. Fridays, I'll always kind of set up like a little portrait session. And also that's most than likely that's when the rehearsal is going to be as well. So I'll set up the portrait session, and then, you know, the rehearsals will be then. And on a portrait session, it's just them and me. That's it. You'll have a lot of friends that want to tag along. I learned that the hard way. A lot of the people that try to tag along, they'll tag along because they want pictures themselves. So they kind of distracts you from them. So for the most part, I do very, very basic stuff. You know, I'll carry my camera bag, a couple of lenses, you know, a flash or two if I need to. But for the most part, you know, if I'm going to be in the beach, I'm going to do it during the day. So I'm probably going to use available light. So like I said, I always kind of try to start off in the room with them. You know, very basic, very short stuff. Nothing, you know, just very intimate. And then we kind of start developing from them, from there. Nothing too posy, nothing too, on this, they were extremely touchy-feely, and you let that, and you encourage that, you know, if that's what they, because that's part of who they are, so you want to make sure that they do stuff like that. Take different angles, you know. On this one, I actually just stepped outside, and I was hoping that I could capture this because I saw him walking toward the door. So I was hoping that I could do this shot, and I just walked out. I used some excuse like I was going to change my film or something. I couldn't remember. I did this session on film. So I walked outside, turned around, and he was just there looking at her. So, you know, I captured this shot. This one I just kind of switched back to digital and did you know, a couple of images. And just kind of switched back and forth. From there, you know, I kind of stepped out a little bit because they were going to get nice and dolled up. While they did that, while they were getting dressed or whatever, I went outside and I wanted to take a picture of the view, of their view, from the window, because that's something that they want to remember. That's something that I want to make sure that doesn't kind of get left out, so that every time that they see this picture, they remember, oh, I remember that you know, waking up to this. And actually, this picture itself, I actually sold a canvas of it, you know, because he has it in his office, and I guess when he's stressed or whatever, he just looks at that and reminds me of that day. Now, be extremely, extremely careful when you're doing destination weddings, especially close to the ocean or the beach, that your horizons are straight. That is the number one thing that you want to make sure you pay attention to. Keep those lines straight, or as straight as possible. I am terrible at doing this, absolutely terrible. I actually sometimes have to, I get so in the moment sometimes that I have to really push myself into and remind myself on this. So in situations like this, make sure you have the time, you take your time, and you get those lines as straight as possible. So while they were, you know, I was taking this picture or whatever, they were getting ready. When they were ready, I saw this window by their refrigerator, little kitchenette area. So I just told them, you know, lean against each other, and I took this picture from them. And I was only doing that because I wanted to measure the light so that I could get this picture, which is exactly what I wanted. You know, just very simple, plain, intimate, and it just kind of, I don't know, I really, really like this picture. Then after that, you know, they sported out their sunglasses, so we took a quick step outside from where I took the picture and did this one. Then brought them right back inside. The way I meter for this. It's a question that I get quite a bit. I do spot metering in here. On this one, I kind of wanted a little bit of detail on them, but not too much. I didn't want the silhouette either. So I kind of spot metered on this one. I spot metered for midtones on her skin because she was a little bit lighter than he was. So so I could get this exposure. Now on the following one, which is this one, well, this one I spot metered completely, for a dark area on the skin, so that I could do this, and as you can see, everything else is just completely blown out. But so that was the difference between doing those two. This one actually I just kind of did it for an example. And then from there I just started walking around. We went all over the town, and I did something very typical of what I do. I just grab them and we just go. I mean, in this situation, they went to Cabo. They'd never been to Cabo before. Well, take that back. They had been to Cabo plenty of times. That's where they got married there, but they had never been outside of the resorts in Cabo. So, except for a couple of restaurants or so. So I wanted to make sure that they experienced Cabo and that they saw all the things. So we just took off, literally just took off walking. I don't know how she did it with the stuff, the heels that she was wearing, but she did a fantastic job. And, had some fun. Walked around, did some stuff, just nothing too major, but I wanted to make sure that they were surrounded by Cabo and the typicalness of the stuff. Caught little details on here, different perspectives of how I want to shoot them. And this another picture I was telling them. I got completely across the street on this one. I'm shooting with 35 millimeter, and I took this picture because this is what I wanted. They actually moved from where I wanted them. I wanted them centered directly underneath the door there, so there would be less distractions. But sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But I heard this motorbike coming, so I kind of looked up and I wanted to see where it was coming from, and I wanted to capture that. So that's when I got this. It makes a much more interesting shot than that one. So I was kind of be aware of your surroundings and what's happening. Not necessarily, that's not the most flattering expression on his face, but it kind of goes with the rest of the picture. So then on the way back to the hotel, then I did a couple of more. So I saw this beautiful line that was coming in. It was a skylight. I'd never seen one before, and it led straight to their bedroom, which is the door that's behind them. And I took this shot. Just got really low because I wanted to show that line and get those lines kind of guiding them to where they were at, and got them toward the room, and got that shot. Now we go over to the rehearsal. And the rehearsal, it's a very, very, very good time to get the family involved. This is the time where you'll have a lot of family that will ask for portraits. Now this is good in a business sense. Because you know what? You're there as a photographer. If the bride and groom don't mind, which most of the time I just finished their session. They want to go take a break, 30 minutes, an hour, or whatever, and everybody else is getting ready, and they're out on the beach or wherever they're going to be. So I'll take this time to capture some portraits. And like I said, on a business sense, then afterwards they're going to order some of these images. So I'm not going to show you all the ones that I took, but I'll definitely go through some. And also, it's a great time because now I can measure my light for the following day and different angles and different things that I want to do for the wedding day and what I want to capture. So, here's different ones that I did. This palm tree, for some reason, throughout the night, it was just calling me, so I just took it, and I take shots like this because when I'm doing an album, then I'll try to incorporate a lot of these things as fillers. So there you go. Here's what the rehearsal kind of looked like. And then I took this shot because I had an idea of something that I wanted to do the following day, but I wanted to see if it worked. So I took the shot, and then we'll see the one in a minute later on. Continue doing. Then later on that evening after the rehearsal, they wanted to get a little bit more spiffy it up, a little bit more dressed up, and they wanted to take some more pictures. So this is part of another portrait session that we did. Went out and just shot around that area. So we'll go through these, fairly quickly. Again, try to keep your horizons level, and always be aware of what's happening, what's coming along, what's going to be coming to your frame. Go. And the family. That evening is going to be the rehearsal dinner. So you want to capture all these things as everything. Make sure you take details around what's going on. Expressions, things that are going around. You'll always get, excitement, and people are telling stories. So you'll get, great situations like this one. People crying, people are laughing. Yeah, very, very beautiful moments in this. And then you have, Uncle Bob or Dad John or whatever that, realize that you point a camera at them, so you get stuff like this. So, just have fun with it. That whole time I was on the table. They had a place for me. They treated me as like I was part of their family, and that's what it's all about. You want to make sure that they see you as such, so that they're not worried about it. You're there as more their photographer. You're there as a friend that's going to capture, your wedding day, and then take a picture of the evening, the end of the evening, of how things are going to be. Now, this one was very, very interesting because the way the resort was laid out, they wanted a picture of these mountains. Well, there's one peak that I showed you at the beginning that were very interesting to me, and that was on the east. The one that we had done the night before, where the sun was kind of setting, well, those were kind of on the west, where the sun was setting. But they wanted, the sun to be behind those. When I told them, I was like, well, the only way we can do that is if we do something at sunrise. And I'm not afraid of it. I love doing sunrise shoots, but this is Cabo, so the sunrise kind of, comes up around 5:30 in the morning. This is on their wedding day, so I suggested it, and they were great with it. So here we are at about 5:30 in the morning. Well, here the sun's not completely up, so actually this is around maybe 4:45, 5 in the morning. And here I am shooting them, and they look great as ever. And then we start, getting these images of the sunrise, which they absolutely loved. So that's two other things, and then we'll get started on the wedding day. Questions up to this point?
Yeah, some more questions have come in. Let me go ahead and pick up the first one that we had while at the last break here. And it was from Dorian, and Dorian asked, what was the best rule of thumb on how clients should make a payment if they're an international client? So they're out of the country.
Yes, I get quite a bit of these clients, and what I do, I don't know if it's a rule of thumb. I don't know, but this has worked for me for years. I always give them an option. I have a PayPal account, and then I have direct deposit to my bank accounts. It's very, very common outside of the U.S. for them to do a direct deposit to my bank account. So, they get routing number and such to do a transfer from their bank account to mine. It's the safest that I've had so far. Or, if anything else, they can do credit card. Now, the only problem with paying with PayPal and credit card is that there are some countries that have closed PayPal. They can no longer use PayPal. And also there's countries that charge a fee when they pay with the credit card. So I want to keep things as cost effective as possible for them as well. So for the most part on international clients, I try to do a bank transfer. That's what has worked for me quite a bit with clients from South America that cannot use PayPal and that they get charged an arm and a leg when they use their credit card, to clients who we recently did an engagement in Italy, and they wanted to do a bank transfer, and it was very common. I had to set it up, so that's how we did it. So it kind of, you have to find the way that's best going to work for you. But for the most part, for international clients, bank transfers work very well.
Great. All right. This question comes in from Amanda. Can you tell us what lenses you believe are essential to take on destinations?
Yes, 35 millimeter, it's a must. The majority of the pictures that you saw just a minute ago, about 80% of them were probably taken with 35 millimeter. That is an exceptional lens. I love that lens. Another one that I do, I always take my zoom lenses with me, so that the 70-200 is a lens that I use quite a bit. And then from there, my 24-70 and my 45 tilt shift are probably the lenses that I for sure take. Once in a while, depending on where I'm going or whatnot, then I might take extra lenses. But I try to keep fairly light or as light as possible. But if I was gonna just get one lens and take one lens, I would probably do the 35. Now, there's a big thing that I'll get a little bit more in depth when we do the other webinar. On a lot of these things, we're going to get a lot more in depth. But one thing that I do want to make sure that you guys know is when you're shooting stuff on the beach, close to the ocean or anything like that, salt water is the death of your equipment. So try to minimize the exchange of lenses as much as possible. Try to keep your camera close as much as you can. If you see a lot of photographers that live on the beach, a lot of photographers, they really don't buy L-series lenses or expensive lenses. They'll get good lenses. They'll get some Sigmas and stuff like that, top-of-the-line Sigmas. But they go through so many lenses a year because of this that they try to keep it. It's not cost-effective for them to buy L-series or good glass in situations like that. So make sure that's another thing is why I like to see my locations, why I like to get to know the areas, to see what lens is going to be, which is going to be better for me to use, so that I don't have to be changing my lenses too much. And then when I come back, the first thing that I do is I send my equipment off to get cleaned.
Awesome. And next question in from Mark. What's your ratio between film and digital?
It depends. This was a very different wedding. They wanted some film, so on this one I probably took 20% film, 80% digital. I have done all film coverage when they wanted it, but it's not common. My film coverage is quite a bit more expensive than the digital ones, so a lot of people just don't want it. But on this one, it was probably 20-80. 20% film, 80% digital.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you continue on here since just checking out our time here. And we do have other questions, but we'll make sure to get to all of them at the end.
All right. Absolutely. Okay, now the wedding day. The wedding day, it's like any other wedding day. I mean, we're all pretty good at covering this day. I'm going to go through this and on how I kind of lay it out and why I do the things that I do during this time. Basically, I start off with the getting ready as anything else. I try to get the details. It's very rare that I take pictures of the men's shoes, but these were like custom-made Italian something shoes. They were probably worth more than my equipment, so I wanted to make sure that that I took a good shot, or at least something that for them to remember. Same thing with her shoes. Some custom-made, Mishkas. Side by side, and then something that the details that cannot be overlooked. Make sure that you do not overlook this. And I was actually specifically told by them that they didn't care if I took a picture of the rings as long as these details were not overlooked. And I wanted to make sure that that I did that. And of course, me thinking about this the whole time, I forgot to take pictures of the rings. But at least I got the details that they wanted. One of them were these cufflinks. These cufflinks were some Time Watch, Ilford's something. I can't remember. I just know they were expensive. This one was actually taken with one flash, and it was taken in the same room. I didn't take them anywhere else. It's actually, I put it on top of a dresser, and then just completely killed all available light because there was a lot of distractions around. There was, the wall was about 3 feet behind this. There was, a picture on the wall. There was some striations on and there was a lot. So I wanted to make sure that there was no distractions whatsoever, and it looked more almost like a setup. So this is the way I decided to light it, make sure all the detail was in there, and it came out, really good. I was very, very happy with it. Then going back, to the getting ready part on him and such. This was another one. Another one was she was so proud of her shoes. She got the exact shoes that she wanted. Just wanted to make sure that those were not overlooked. So I took, your typical ones, make sure that we covered every angle on that. Did one from far away with film. Little bit of a detail. This was really, really cool because for the most part, my name is never on the itinerary. And when you make it into the itinerary, not just photographer, when your name makes it into the itinerary, that means that they actually, see you as part of their wedding day, and that is an absolutely incredible feeling. You want to make sure that's my goal. I want to make sure that my name makes it into the itinerary of the day, rather than just photographer. So I wanted to make sure I took a picture of this. Now, since I had taken this shot like this, of that detail, then I wanted to make sure I took that shot of her shoes. The same effect, and this is actually this. It's in the exact same place. It's just, as you guys know, I'm a flasher, so I love doing off-camera flash. And I wanted to make sure that all of the detail was on that. And you can see every single little sparkle on those shoes. Then you continue with the whole getting ready part. I thought it was really funny because it was kind of like their makeshift. They messed up the dresses, and actually the bride is the one that's fixing everybody. They were supposed to have this white, I don't know, belt or something across the front, but it's really great. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. The thing about this is that, she didn't panic. She didn't do anything. She just wanted to make sure that, the little hint of white was there. So she just sent one of her bridesmaids to get some ribbon, and she just cut them off and tied a knot in the back. So, which I thought was absolutely great. No panicking, no nothing. She was just as calm as it could be, and she was just happy it was her wedding day. Get details here and there. Your typical dress, shoes shot. I'm actually kind of staying away from these now, and I'm doing more like this stuff that has more of a human element in it than just shoes and a dress. So it just kind of looks so plain sometimes. So by adding a little human element and stuff like this, that it always happens. The dress is always going to be hanging. And if it's not hanging, I'll make sure I'll go hang it somewhere, because that way people can actually come and grab it and interact with it. So a lot of the times I'll manipulate little situations like this to get the shot that I want. And then, go on from, keep going with the whole getting ready area, get the kids were clowning around. And then one thing that I do quite a bit is right before they step out of that room, I'll just grab the bride and I'll just bring her into the thing, give her 2 minutes just by herself. Anything else is just her and I really quick, so I can do some quick shots. I don't talk to her. I just want her to just think and reminisce about what's about to happen and everything else in the town. And you can get some really, on this one, I never told her to smile, never told her anything, to just remembering things, and you get these beautiful natural moments. Just very calm, very peaceful, very beautiful moments. And then we keep going on with what the day is. Putting on the veil, different types of jewelry. Most of the time, a lot of brides, they'll bring multiple stuff. So I want to make sure we capture all that stuff. That's what she ended up with. She wanted to make sure that that's the one that she ended up with. Now, this one is it's one of the reasons why I keep my eye glued to the camera. When I was coming up to the room, we had to go through this like tunnel, this long bridge that just turned into, well, it was so high up, it was like on the 10th floor or something like that of the resort. I take it back, 8th floor of the resort. And it just became a wind tunnel. So what I was thinking, I was like, cool, when she walks through here, her veil is just gonna, it's gonna just kind of float out to the side, and it's gonna make for a great picture. Unbeknownst to me, that something much better was gonna happen, and I'll show you what happened. I stayed behind them the whole time. This is right when they're gonna walk out onto that thing. And as soon as I turned around, this is what happens. And as you can see, there's no more veil here. The veil actually just flew out of, off of her head. And one thing that I could have done was basically, wait for the reaction. Everything was so fast that there was no reaction until I started running towards the edge of the window. And that's where the veil ended up, down by the golf course. So I would have never captured that moment if I would have been too busy checking the back of my camera. Know your setting, guys. Know how to react quickly. Know your equipment, and keep that camera glued to your eye. To get little moments like this, that was a hilarious time. She was like 15 minutes late because we needed to go get the veil, but it was completely worth it. Everybody was just having a fantastic time. Well, while they went to go get the veil, I want to make sure I wanted to take pictures like this, of the area that's going to be completely empty, kind of like before and afters, So I go in there and I take some of these shots, and then, as people are kind of start walking in, same thing on here. Things are kind of unexpected, and you just want to capture those. So we'll go through some through here. Get the parents coming walking on the aisle. This is a really, really good one. I love this picture. Nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, out of this world or anything, but it signifies quite a bit to them. How the groom in the back is just kind of looking onto his parents. And seeing them walk down this aisle, which is now that he's going to follow, kind of like following on their footsteps. So I try to get little things like this as much as I can. Once these are out of order. Anyways, get him here walking down himself, and he danced the whole way through. So you get these images. One thing that I do, I run like a madman everywhere. Most of the destination weddings I do, especially on the beach, I'm by myself, which is quite all right. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of couples don't want to pay the extra amount for an assistant. I have made quite a bit of friends where I have shot, so sometimes I do have somebody local that I'll hire to come help me out if need be. But this one was a very small wedding, so there's no reason for me to hire anybody else. So I'll take this shot, and then I'll run out, and try to get other shots from different angles, run out to the side while she's walking on. If you guys see right here, these are actually my footsteps as I'm running to try to get her in a different angle of her running down the aisle. And the reason was she was already having a problem walking down the aisle because the resort wasn't too smart and they didn't actually put wood all the way down. So she's wearing heels and a sandy beach. So I was kind of hoping that she took a tumble and I would have done for an exceptional picture, but she didn't. She only kind of tripped a little bit, and we got this where she was laughing about it. And then from there, your typical ceremony as things are kind of happening and going by. The vows. Make sure that you get expressions on this stuff right here. For the most part in here, guys, be very, 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 very careful on how you expose to this. Obviously, if you by any chance you end up exposing to the sun that's on her shoulder, or you expose to the the suit and stuff like that, then since I'm doing spot metering, well, that the entire picture can be blown off. And since I don't take my camera to check the back, the back of it too much, then that means that it could be multiple images that would be ruined. So just pay attention to what you're doing during the time. Make sure you take stuff like this, wide open spaces of what's going on. Try to avoid, you always have onlookers. We were very lucky on this one. And if you are actually, make yourself known. Instead of people walking right in front of you, they'll see you there and they'll try to walk behind you so that you don't have any interference. But I have had some great pictures of people walking by and walking their dog, and they're looking on, and it makes for good pictures sometimes. And obviously, your typical when the vowels are being said. And here is where I was telling you that I'm all over the place. So I'll take this shot with my 35 millimeter. On the other camera, I'll have my my 70-200. So I'll take shots like this, really up close with 35. Try to look for different angles than when you're shooting, and then I'll run back, completely with that 70-200, and I'll try to take these shots while she's putting the rings on him, and then zoom in from far away to get these shots. And obviously you can't, make sure that you get the kiss. And on these situations, more than likely there's a person that's always going to be behind them, so you want to make sure that you try to block that as much as possible so that they look like they're by themselves and the entire world is just theirs. And then on this one, I'll show you how I would have edited this. So basically on here, there's nothing wrong with them, but it's quite a bit of a distraction to me. So I'll just do this, and I'll just kind of get them all out. And then from there, one thing that I do quite a bit, and they think it's funny, I haven't had any complaints. They just think it's, it's funny of me rolling all over the sand. Is as I'm walking down the aisle, because I'll wait for moments like this, I'll just won't move, and they'll have to do stuff like this to get over my head. And then that way I can just turn around, and then I'll be able to get, these shots as they're walking away. And then, your traditional family photos. Now, if you recall earlier, I told you that there was a shot that I wanted to take with a head were just popping out. Well, this was the original one that I wanted to do. It would have been very easy to get them all together and do a, your typical family shot. But yet, they came to Cabo. They wanted to do, and I saw this cool little, almost little hill that was on the beach itself. So I went ahead and told them, everybody, to hold hands, walk back, and take this shot. Now, this shot, I love this shot, but I actually, it was inspired by a good friend of mine, which is Fed Juaristi, which he has one that was very similar, and I thought that image was would fit well here as well because of the type of family that they were. I just added my little touch to it, where the kids were next to them, and that's when they were kissing. And then from there, I try to do the heads. Unfortunately, the people in the middle didn't quite get the memo that I wanted them lower. So sometimes, what you're looking for works, sometimes it doesn't. So in this case, it didn't, but it was fun trying it anyways. And then, we go around and do just like a normal wedding day, do the portrait sessions around the hotel and such. This one is a great shot. Not that it's anything out of this world, but the reason was because this is the groom's brother, and he's afraid of heights. And I never noticed this. I just told him, hey guys, this is an infinity pool. Let me have you guys on the opposite side. Well, I was thinking it was like, I mean, most infinity pools in situations like this, it's a 2-3 foot drop on the other one. I never knew why this guy looked so scared right here. And that was because on the opposite side, it actually was a full floor down. It actually turned into a waterfall that went over some windows for the restaurant below. So I didn't know, and he was afraid of heights. So it was definitely a good times in these situations. And throughout the day, you get the details. Sun starts setting down. Hear that palm tree again. It kind of shows where you started, where that night's kind of ending, and you're going for same thing toward the end of the day, and details throughout. One thing that I do quite a bit in shots like this, I never lose track of where the groom and the bride are, so that I can get stuff like this. This was actually a film shot, and I exposed for the sky because I wanted that saturated blue, and those beautiful, beautiful oranges that were on the background. There was a fire behind her, so that's why you get that nice light toward the back, but you get the rest of it silhouette. Got a little closer and then did the same thing. And then, the groom kind of came and joined her for a little bit. None of these were posts. I didn't do, this was just stuff that was naturally happening, and I let it happen. And then, like everything else, you got the cake, nothing major. It wasn't very big, but there was this cool little detail on top, so I make sure you get close and you get all the details, just like you would in a normal wedding. So I'm going to go through the rest of these really quick. Again, her shoes towards the end. I didn't put the shoes there. For some reason, when I was walking, I found them there. It was really cool that they had that watch your step. Toward the end of the night, she loved them, but she had enough of them, so she just kind of left them out on everybody else is having fun up at the top of the stairs. So they had these cool Chinese lanterns, which, not everything goes as planned ever. So we just did, some fun little things. They didn't have a dance, they didn't have a band, they didn't have anything. They were very, very close, tight-knit group of family and friends, and this is actually how that night ended. It was really, really, really cool. I never had one end like this, but it was really cool. They were very, and if you see these shots that I was doing earlier, they were very expressive with their hands, so they're always moving their hands here and there. Everyone that was, so I love taking all these pictures. So, but yeah, this was the end of the night. I think this was a fantastic frame to end the night with, of her just kind of leaning on his shoulder, with her eyes closed, just basically just reminiscing of what everything was, and he's having a great time. So that's a wedding day coverage. So and then let's take some questions, and then we'll go for the day after and try some the dress sessions and what that kind of entails.
Awesome. Well, now that we have some time to take some more questions, we did get a question that came in about the spot metering. So this question comes in from Dorian. Do you think that spot metering is best for destination weddings?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I take it to heart. I use it religiously. I know pretty much 100% of the people that I know personally that do shoot destination weddings, they all spot meter as well. It's the best way to really not mess up too much. So spot metering and manual is the best way to capture. I know there's a couple of people, I don't know them personally, but I know there's a couple of people that use AV mode and stuff like that. Spot metering to me works fantastic. That's the way I cover them, and multiple people that do destination weddings that cover them the same way. And especially works well in beach weddings.
Great. And to follow up on that question, another question came in. Do you meter for skin tones?
Yes, depending on what I want. If I want silhouettes, then I will more than likely meter for the sky. If there are some really cool, let's say there's going to be some uh, details in the background, let's say there's going to be some lamps or something, and I'm going to use flash, then what I'll do is I'll meter for those lamps to make sure I don't lose them, and then I'll use the flash as a fill-in on them to make sure that everything kind of matches. But yes, for the most part, depending on what I want, I'll meter for skin tones if I want to make sure that they're exposed correctly, and then I'm going to meter, for if I want the sky, if I want them as a silhouette, then I'll expose for the sky.
Great. And a question came in from Joshua. Are you going to go over how you market for your destination weddings?
Yes, we're going to touch a little bit on that, and then we'll follow up later on a deeper note. But yes, we're definitely going to do some touch up on that and as well, and I know there's going to be some questions on that towards the end as well. So do you want me to answer that now, or would you rather just wait towards the end?
Yeah, let's answer it at the end, just looking at the time and everything. And thank you, everybody, Hiram and everybody for, staying in a little later than normal. And, yeah, keep on rolling through, Hiram.
All right, cool. Awesome. So now, one big thing that kind of started, this kind of, if you guys know Alt F Studio, he's kind of like the pioneer of the trash to dress session. He was the one that kind of started this trend. He did magnificent images, such as, the burning bride, and, he would take brides out to the middle of nowhere deserts and stuff like that, and do some amazing shots. So to me, he was kind of like the pioneer that brought in the trash to dress session, which is very, very popular now. Unfortunately, I don't know if you guys read lately, there was quite a bit of a tragic accident during the trash to dress session in Canada. But it's not common. So make sure that you guys, if you do a trash to dress session, you take precautions on what you're going to do. I like doing day afters and trash to dresses. I mean, they're kind of the same, but yeah, I market them a little bit different because now instead of selling one, I can sell two. I can sell a day after, and I can sell a trash to dress. So a trash to dress definitely involves the bride. That's the main thing. The day after session kind of involves both. And you don't necessarily have to do a trash to dress session in a day after. They can be just dressed up, and then you go and take pictures. A lot of the time we'll do these when we didn't have time during the wedding day to take pictures of them too. So on this one, it was more kind of a day after / trash to dress because they just wanted to have fun, and they wanted to go out to the arches in Cabo. So the first thing to wake them up, it was this one. It was probably, I think we were up around 6:37 in the morning. So I knew that we had that infinity pool that we had seen the day before. So the first thing that I told them was, "Hey guys, why don't you just jump in?" They didn't, no questions asked. They trusted me. They boom, jumped in straight into the pool. It wasn't, it was a little cool or whatever, but it woke them up. It got them going. And we did some, a quick little session with the city in the background. It was cool, but I wanted something where it just seemed like it was them, in the middle of nowhere. And I knew that one of his favorite movies was, what's it called? The movie about two scuba divers who got left in the middle of nowhere. I cannot remember. I can't remember the name. But we had talked about that quite a bit. So I kind of got the idea of doing this shot. I pointed my camera the other way. And by the way, when I'm doing these shots, I'm in the pool with them. I don't just say, "Hell, okay, guys, you guys get in the pool and I'm going to stay nice and warm." No. I'm in there with them. This was shot with 35, so I have to be not too close but not too far either. So I had to, get in there with them and freeze just as much as they did. This one's not necessarily a perfect shot, kind of decapitated them a little bit right here, but it works for me because there's a double line, and this doesn't really detract too much from them. And I love this shot. So, to me, it was People say it's a big no-no. To me, if the image works, I really don't care. So then from there, we took a nice, they got out of their work clothes, and as you can see them, they're carrying them right up here in front of the boat. And we just took a boat ride, and everybody decided to go with us, which is cool because I kind of put them to work. It's always fun when I do stuff like this because I can actually use the family sometimes to my advantage. I took pictures of things that were going around. They wanted something close to the arch. Originally, they wanted a picture on the arch. However, the sea was a little rough that day, and it was actually climbing way. As you can see, some of the waves were actually crashing this high. So there was no way that we could have done anything there without actually probably being dragged out to sea. And Cabo is notorious for having extremely bad undertows, and people constantly get swept out to sea. I'm not a very strong swimmer, therefore I was kind of scared, and I definitely told them, and they were like, cool, that's fine. So we did a couple here, kind of cheesy ones, but they got their arch. And then, I took this shot so that they could blow it up, do whatever they wanted of the arch. As soon as I got off, this is the end. I actually put the family to work, and I told them that I wanted this. Now, this was an excellent. I try to do things like this pretty commonly, just so that I have something to end the album in. So this would be an awesome frame to end the album in. As the end with them in the background, in Cabo, plain and simple. The reason for me placing them here is because this was the darker area, therefore they're much lighter, so they actually just kind of pop out, and it just kind of frames them a little bit. And here, same thing. This is the only blue area that was there, so they kind of stand out a bit. So depending on which one I want to do, I took a couple on multiple ones, and then from there we kind of just go into the session. Do multiple ones. There was a lot more. There were a lot more provocative, so I'm sorry guys, I can't show those. They were a beautiful, beautiful couple. It was just, they were very personal. So I'll just kind of show you the overview of what we did. And this one, I love this one, and it's actually, this one's it's not a workable one, but it's something that I show because, you always have somebody here in the background, with their point and shoot, taking pictures of the family, and stuff like this always I really, really enjoy sometimes. So I just switch the camera instead of doing it from a close one. I just got my 35 and took this shot, and then got the shot that I really wanted, which is this one. Now this one they were extremely, extremely brave because the waves were really, really high. Like I said, the sea was pretty, pretty rough. But they were tough, man. They were great at it. So we took 3 different shots. One as the waves were coming in, second one this one, and then as the waves were kind of receding. So they were great sports, great sports. And when they trust you guys, and like I said, get in there with them. Don't just say, oh, you got here and you were out there with the long lens. I mean, you get in on this one I'm in the same line of fire as they are, and I'm actually lower because they were kind of like up on a hill, so the waves were actually crashing on me pretty hard. So, if they see that you're that dedicated, they're not gonna mind. And then you always get, stuff like this. It's spontaneous, so I just start shooting. Now this one right here, they wanted something. She had a poster of, I think it was like a James Bond movie, so they wanted to do it. But now my original thought was going to shoot it the other way, which is when I did. But I saw this guy that was coming out, and I thought it was just hilarious. So I took this one, and as you can see, the horizon looks terrible. I mean, but it's because I was laughing so hard, with this half-naked guy in the background just coming out of the ocean. So then from there, I take the one that I wanted. So They wanted a jumping family one, so took that one. They helped out great, and then enough to close it. So that's basically in short, a wedding coverage. And like I said, we're going to do a couple of series of this, and we're going to talk a lot more in depth where we'll actually break down a lot of these pieces on that. So let's go on with questions and anything else that we need to go through.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, for taking your time to put together such an awesome presentation, Hiram. And thank you guys for sticking around with us through all this great information. And I do see tons of questions, so I'm just going to work my way up in the order they came through.
Awesome.
We have an attendee, Sheila, who joined us a little late and had a bunch of different questions. Has rolled in the one that you kind of touched base on, so maybe you can give her some cliff notes on this. So Sheila said, I'm sorry I joined in late, and if these questions have been asked, but what permissions, licenses, visas, etc., do you need to shoot in other countries? I live in Canada and cannot shoot in the States for a U.S. client without a ton of paperwork, but I can bring a Canadian client to the U.S. and shoot them. Kind of makes it hard to shoot in Hawaii, but wondering if other countries are this hard to do work in. How exactly can I get around this? I've never shot a destination wedding. Would love to, but I want to do it properly. I'm only 40 minutes from the U.S. border, so it'd be nice to be able to take some U.S. customers to hardly a destination. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, and I'm sorry, what was the name of that?
Sheila.
Sheila, you know what? I'm so happy that you said that you want to do things right. That is the best thing that you can do. It's actually kind of difficult even for Americans to shoot in Canada. There's also paperwork and a lot of things that need to be done when you do it properly. The best thing that I can tell you is do it properly. Take the steps that you need to take. I know it's a pain in the butt, but honestly, it's probably, in the end, it's going to be so much better. If there are fees, you want to make sure that you tell the clients, hey, there are these fees included. If you want to adjust your pricing, to offset those fees, it's really kind of up to you. When you're kind of starting off, and we're going to touch a little bit on how to market with this answer. Also, we're going to touch a little bit on how to market for destination weddings. You can only show what you want, what you want to do. If you want to do destination weddings, well, guess what? You have to show a destination wedding. And the best way to get you for a destination wedding is, I'm not saying for you to shoot for free, because you should absolutely never shoot a wedding for free. However, you do make it affordable enough and where you can actually do something and make some money on the side to get your first destination wedding. The first destination wedding that I did not shoot it for free. However, I did, when there was fees, when there was visa stuff that I needed to do, I did offset my pricing a little bit to make sure it was less profit for me, but it was, in the long run, it ended up being better because, they loved their wedding. They referred me to other clients. So that's one way, one step towards going. But, going back to Sheila's question, it's kind of like, find out what country you're going to be in. And there are some countries that you need a ton of paperwork. There are some that you don't. One thing, for example, in my case, things can be a little, easier at times because I have dual citizenship. I'm a Mexican citizen as well as a U.S. citizen. So there are countries that would accept, for example, South America. I can travel easily to South America and not pay any fees because I have a Mexican passport. However, if I showed my American passport only, then I would have to pay any fees that would be incurred. Now, for example, there are a lot of other, a lot of you that might have a dual citizenship as well that you can take advantage of in those situations. But whatever you do is you want to make sure that you do things right. Fill out the paperwork that you need to fill out, get the visas that you need to get, and for most of the time when you do get a visa, it's probably going to be for like a year or whatever you ask it for, and you won't have to do this all the time. If you do, then you just have to deal with it and just do it.
All right, great. And moving on to, we'll jump into the next question. Do you use any waterproofing for your camera? This is from Jewel.
Um, well, I mean, I sent not anything extra than what it already kind of comes with. I use Canon, and Canon is they're really resilient cameras. I'm sure Nikon is just as well. I didn't do anything additional. I do a lot of untouched dresses. I do a lot of underwater coverage, and I use a housing. Yes, I do use a housing in that aspect. But anything extra or anything like that, not really. I mean, just what what my equipment kind of comes with. I've spilled a glass of water on it, and for the most part, they're gonna be okay. It's when you like submerge them that you're gonna have a problem.
All right, and we had another question from Sheila as well. I noticed in your reception outside shots the flash in the background. Do you use 2 to 3 off-camera flash permanently set up around the perimeter rather than take the flash with you, or a combination?
I do a combination, and this one was actually, it was a little different. This one's actually, most of it was available light. There was quite a bit of light. It was that ugly, and I haven't edited any of these, so that ugly yellow, like tungsten light that's in the background. But for the cake, I use some flash. But when I do like a wedding that's going to require flash or whatnot, yes, I move them around. That's where the little stands come in handy, because I can just wrap those and put those anywhere, and I don't have to carry a tripod. Even though I use like the Cheetah, the C8, which are collapsible, but still, I have to move those around. And with the little ones, they're so small that I can just even put them in my pocket sometimes and then move them to wherever I want.
Great. All right, and this question comes in from Samson. How do you handle taxes within the states? Do you charge clients on a different state taxes on products or services?
No. For example, if my clients are from Texas, then that's the only time that I charge taxes. I cannot charge taxes for any other state whatsoever. So if the client, let's say if my client is from Canada, then it just goes for the price that is advertised, but you don't charge any taxes. I can't charge any state taxes. The federal taxes are a little bit different, but for the most part, that doesn't kind of involve them too much. So state taxes, you can only charge, from what I know, at least in Texas, you can only charge taxes for clients that live within your state.
All right. Well, I'll let you touch base on marketing here, and then we'll go ahead and wrap things up. So if you wanted, just any final, tips you wanted to give out to everybody, now would be the great time to do that.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, basically, my marketing is word of mouth is the best thing you can do. I mean, plain and simple. If you do a good job on your first destination wedding, then you're gonna have a great time with other clients that are gonna refer you and get the same type of clients that you want. That is the number one thing. Do an amazing job on your first one, and the rest will come. Another thing that you can do is, there are different sites that you can advertise in. I don't recommend those too much, honestly. There are some amazing ones and that you want to do. I'm part of like Fotógrafos de América, which it's a Mexican-based site basically, and what they do, they kind of have photographers that will kind of they'll if brides are looking for destination photographers, they can look in there. I don't pay anything extra or anything. It's just I'm on their basic listings. But I mean, I've never taken an ad on like Destination Weddings magazine or anything like that. It's a little bit expensive to do it. I would, for example, like if I lived in Hawaii, and then I would probably take an ad for Hawaii coverage. But me living here and taking an ad on a destination wedding magazine, then I kind of rely a lot more on my work and on the word of mouth. And then posting and making noise on Twitter, Facebook, and stuff like that. Show images of what you want to shoot, and that's going to be the best, the best thing. If you're invited to a destination wedding somewhere, or let's say one thing that I did a lot when I first started was if I went on vacation somewhere, I would, ask for a couple, in there and just do a free shoot, and get some images. If you go to Italy, if you go to Mexico, if you go here, if you go there. Another thing that you can do if you go on vacation, go and get to know photographers around their area. How many of you have gone on spring break or have gone to Cancun or whatever? Reach out to those photographers. Get to know them. Who knows? There's been a couple of times where I've emailed whatever, and I've been invited to go on weddings with them, and it's great. To do it. A lot of the times there's nothing wrong with helping out other people, and then I use those images, but I let them know, like, hey, can I use a couple of these images? And most of the time they're good with that. But the best promoting that you can do for yourself is to do an amazing job for your clients. That is going to be the number one thing that you can do.
Well, awesome. And I do have one more question here from Linda. So this is one from earlier, and I'm sorry I overlooked it, Linda. What do you say to the tag-alongs when you're shooting to get them out of there without offending them? So yeah, I had to reread that. If you need clarification on that, let me know, Hiram.
Okay, as in like the friends and family that tag along?
Yeah, that's what I believe that Linda's referring to. The people I guess that are tagging along while you're probably shooting with just a couple to
okay.
Get them out of there without offending them.
Yeah, when I do a portrait session, like I was talking earlier, I want to make sure that it's just them and me. On tries the dress sessions and stuff like this, and people want to tag along, I'll put them to work, and that's the best way to keep them out of the way. Even if it's something that's going to make absolutely no difference, like I'll take a flash and I'll hold them, hey, hold this flash, and it's going to make, I'll put it so low where it's going to make absolutely no difference whether the flash is there or not, but they think they're doing something. So I put them to work. That's the best thing that I can tell you to do, and they'll stay out of the way because they think they're helping out or whatever. If they kind of start interfering a little bit where, with the posing or whatever, then I'm straight with them, straightforward with them, and I let them know. If they get offended, I'm sorry, but, I'm doing my job. So, the best thing to do is put them to work and be honest with them. That's what I've done, and it's worked great for me.
Well, awesome. Well, it looks like we got to as many questions as we could handle today. Thank you guys so much for sticking through this. We're definitely going to work on getting another webinar out there about destination weddings. So, leave us your feedback. Leave us your comments, what you thought of today's webinar. Do you guys want to learn more information about shooting destination weddings? What topics would you like to see Hiram cover? Hiram, as always, we're so pleased to have you on today's webinar, and every topic that you've covered has always been amazing. So thank you so much for taking the time to put together today's presentation.
No, man, thank you guys. I'm sorry I went over quite a bit over than what we were expecting. One thing that I would want to do is I have shameless plug here, but I do want to I want to do a giveaway for somebody. The first person who can send me an image of destination wedding and tag me on it, I would love to see everybody's work, and follow me on Twitter, hit me up on Facebook. But the first person who sends me a picture of a destination wedding that tags me on it, I'm going to give away an HTR reflector, which is the one that I was telling you earlier today that I use quite a bit, that I carry with me, and it's this little thing right here. So it's gotten me out of some really quick and tight spots sometimes that I've needed it. So I kind of want to share it with you guys. And also, the click bags, just kind of remember that name because there's something big coming on really, 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 really soon that I'm really excited about, something I've been working on for about 2 years. And I would love to share with all of you. So.
Oh, awesome! All right, so let's cover those steps on how they can do this, Hiram. Do you want them to head over to your Facebook page? Does it matter any form of social media if they tag you on Twitter, Facebook? How do you want them to do it?
You know what? No, it doesn't matter. You know what? I'll give out two. The first one that tags me on Facebook, and the first one that tags me on Twitter. So we'll give one out on either one.
Awesome. So you guys understand how to do that? Head over to Facebook. You can find Hiram on there. Be sure to check out his fan page for his business and his personal page if you want to friend him. And then right there is his Twitter handle at Hiram Trillo. So you can easily just send out a tweet with that photo attached to it. So good luck to everybody out there. And any other closing thoughts, Hiram?
Again, thank you everyone for taking the time and listening to my spiel, I guess. Anyone, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, guys, like I said, I've said it before, I'm an open book. Don't hesitate to ask me. I mean, send me an email, hit me up on Facebook, whatever. So whatever it is that you need or you want or you have questions about, and if I can help you and if I can answer one of the, whatever it is, please let me know. All right, we got our first winner. Awesome. I have least images, right? It's Leah.
Let's see. I see a Leah in here.
Is it Tanya? Tanya Lee?
Oh yeah, Tanya Lee. There, T Lee. There we go.
Yep, T Lee. There you go. All right, Tanya, do me a huge favor. Now since you're still in here, can you send me your info? Send me a message, and I'll get that out to you.
Awesome. So Tanya, be sure to just message Hiram there, and if you want to send your information, if you're not able to get a hold of Hiram, you can always get a hold of me here at Danny@photobiz.com. All right, cool. Hopefully you'll get. Was that on Facebook or Twitter, Hiram?
That was on Facebook.
All right, guys. So you got somebody on Twitter. Go ahead and hop on there. That's an awesome opportunity right there. So tag Hiram on Twitter and attach a destination wedding photo or a destination photo there, and you can win HDR reflector. So hopefully someone will get that. We'll get that in the next couple of minutes. And on that note, Hiram, it looks like we're going to go ahead and wrap everything up here. So thank you so much for taking the time to present today, and thank you everybody who joined us. We're going to have this recording online on the PhotoBiz YouTube channel at youtube.com/PhotoBiz. Also, be sure to check on our blog and watch your email for updates about future webinars. So thank you again, Hiram, and we look forward to hosting another webinar with you shortly.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
All right, everybody. Have a great day.